Brian Little.
We often hear people, whether in some kind of self-help seminar setting or over the internet, speak on how essential it is to realize our purpose in order to be truly successful in life. I thought on a whole host of things ranging from classic history to one's ancestry. Among those, ancient Egypt, its pharaohs and dynasties, and Socrates' philosophies that has lasted for over 1,000 years, and even writers such as Dumas and Keats, whose stories and poetry have marveled audiences for over 100 years. It all boils down to legacy, in my opinion, and what we do in our times affects the future. And in calculation, we work at harnessing our talents in a way that will strike at the hearts and minds of individuals for centuries. Another example of legacy is scriptural texts such as the Holy Quran, the Bible, and the Torah, and the events and principles contained in them. I often think on the gravity of these books in terms of their lasting influence on societies for as long as they've been in existence, which is roughly within the last 4,000 years. No matter what we think in terms of how we may regard religion today, we would have to admit that those three texts of monotheistic religion have lasted for a very long time. Yes, we can go into how and why they're prevalent, but nonetheless, those scriptures have outlasted every novel and philosophical literature for centuries. Call it what you will, but in reality, those books are legacies hailing back to antiquity, which continue to shape and inform specific behaviors, practices, and cultures to this very day, and quite possibly beyond it. So in our time, where do we fit into this infinitive process? In my opinion, we fit in or demonstrate our ability by defining our time by being receptive to all its nuances, the day's socio-economic and political paradigms, analysing, interpreting and capturing its effects in whatever form we choose, whether through literature or music. Not only does such action provide unique and definitive records of societal data for contemporaries, it also facilitates future minds who are desirous of peeking through the window of history to analyse and help forward its legacy onto the next generation. Would we need to repeat the past? I would say no, except that we extract from an immutable principle, which is to use the past as a foundation of knowledge and understanding for the purpose of enhancing life in the present and subsequently advance substantively to the future. Therefore, as a consequence of recognizing our purpose and acting on it, we leave an indelible mark in our time by helping to provide insight of the era for those who are yet to be born. Like Virginia Woolf's essays and novels of the post-colonial era, James Baldwin's writings during the epoch of civil rights, or Bob Dylan's socio-liberal songs of the 1960s, we too must and will demonstrate works that shape and define our time for generations to come. In this post-millennial space that we currently occupy, time, compared to past generations, has sharply sped up in terms of fast increasing development of new technology, i.e. mobile phones, computers, social and multimedia. However, our times require unique analyses and expressions. Our music, our storytelling. As fast-paced as our times are, our interpretations are and will be crucial to understanding who and what we are today, and the uniqueness of this period by way of our creative processes will act as the preserving element for the hand of history to hold fast to in any future process of analyzation and eventual learning of past occurrences. Imagine today's multimedia world is already producing tomorrow's scholars, and the content creators on the social media platforms of our day, such as Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, are facilitating their rise alongside savvy entrepreneurs and freelancers that are dispensing with the old school paradigm of corporate structures and forming new ones. Like yesterday's Greek philosophers such as Plato and Aristotle, emperors of the Roman Empire such as Augustus and Caesar, 18th and 19th century luminaries of the Industrial Revolution, we too in this time stand at the cusp of history, now telling our story, writing ourselves into the future in order to be remembered for hundreds and thousands of years. We today, by our creativity and inventions, are no greater or revolutionary than those predecessors, as in principle, their luminous works equally wowed an unsuspecting public as it does us today. Such great work, whether past or present, carries the same excitement upon their introduction to the world. Consider how Steve Jobs' conceptions and creation of the iPhone, iPad and Apple Mac, for example, still causes as much sensation as one marvelling over Michelangelo's painting on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in Rome, thus leaving significant blueprints for future generations to admire and review. It's imperative that we, like the greats of old in their day, understand the gravitational pull of our times and be able to tell its story in the most expressive and memorable ways possible. In capturing time through our innovative endeavours, we prove ourselves most capable by weaving ourselves into its narrative and ultimately becoming its vital portal, not only for our time, but for times to come. Therefore, the world and future await our light, but the story only begins once we find our purpose.